Hi everyone. This episode is slightly different from the usual SCM decoded breakdowns. Today I wanted to step back for a moment and explain the larger operational map we are slowly trying to build together through SCM decoded. I understand it is quite impossible to master the entire supply chain. Every nuance, every variable, every industry, no single person does. Not even the best chief supply chain officers in the world have mastered all of it. But here is what is possible to understand the entire system. The global architecture of how supply chain actually works, put together in one place, broken into nuances, and explained properly. See, everyone cannot become an expert CSU overnight, but everyone deserves a fair chance to get there. We started this journey in March 2026 with one idea. The idea was simple: get all supply chain professionals, whether they are just entering the field mid career or leading large operations, onto one platform. One place where supply chain could be learned properly, completely, and in a connected manner. I also want to say something directly. This might sound a bit rude. There will be a lot of channels out there with hooks, with millions of subscribers, with hundreds of videos, and I'm not here to compete with any of them. But mark my words, when you listen to someone teaching you supply chain, ask yourself one question: how much ground reality do they actually have? Because supply chain is not a subject you can teach from a script. It comes from years of sitting inside complex operations, making difficult trade off decisions, and understanding why systems fail when everything looks fine on paper. Because here is what I noticed early, very early, after nearly spending 14 years in this industry. Most people learn supply chain in fragments: forecasting here, procurement there, logistics somewhere else, warehousing somewhere else, freight forwarding, clearance somewhere else, ERP treated as an IT problem. So no education on how supply chain, how ERP contributes in supply chain. Planning is taken as a finance problem, and nobody ever sits down and shows you how all of it actually connects with each other. You end up with little knowledge but no map. And without that map, you keep solving problems in isolation. You keep missing the bigger picture. That is what SCM Decoded is here to change. One thing I have always found quietly fascinating is how invisible supply chain is to most people. The medicine that reaches a hospital on time, the product that appears on a shelf the morning after you ordered it online, the fuel that never runs out at your local station, it's always in stock, never out of stock. The phone in your hand, assembled from components made in six different countries, all of it, every single part of it, is someone's supply chain decision. And yet, most people only notice these systems when something breaks, when shelves are empty, when deliveries don't arrive, when prices suddenly spike and nobody can explain it why. The deeper I went into this industry, this field, the more I realized supply chain is not just an operational function, it is the invisible architecture of modern life. Understanding it means understanding how the world actually runs and moves. That is what we are here to decode together. So, what is SCM Decoded? SCM Decoded is not a tutorial channel. I want to be clear about that from the beginning. Think of it this way: supply chain is one garden, but most people only ever see the fences. Forecasting is one fence, procurement is another, logistics, manufacturing, freight forwarding, clearance, inventory, each of its own separate enclosure. Most learning systems teach you one fence at a time, that too fragmented and separated and broken, as if the garden does not exist. SCM Decoded is built to show you the whole garden. It is a long term learning ecosystem. Every episode you watch here is a part of a larger architecture. Topics are not chosen randomly, they are sequenced deliberately. Because in supply chain, the order in which you understand things matters enormously. Over time, I realized something important. You cannot teach supply chain properly in isolated pieces. The moment you start, separating planning from logistics or sourcing from manufacturing, you lose the operational logic that makes the entire system work. So yeah, SCM Decoded is built differently. Each episode connects with the last episode. Each concept builds on the one before it. And slowly over time, you start to see the whole picture. That is the goal. Not information, not fences, a map. So if there is one thing I want you to carry from this episode, it is this. Every physical decision in supply chain begins as an information decision. What I mean by that is, before a factory produces, someone must plan what to produce. Before a warehouse receives inventory, someone must forecast what is coming. And before a truck moves, someone has already decided the route, the timing, and the priority. This is the operational logic that SCM Decoded is built around: plan, source, make, deliver, return, and enable. It is not an arbitrary sequence. It mirrors how supply chain actually flows in the real world, from intelligence through execution. And understanding that sequence deeply changes how you see every supply chain problem you will ever face. So, most professionals who struggle in supply chain were kind of taught execution without ever being taught planning. We are not going to make that mistake here. So season 1 starts here with the intelligence layer, and there is a very deliberate reason for that. At some point you start noticing that almost every supply chain failure you read about can be traced backwards to a planning failure. Not a logistics failure, not a manufacturing failure, a planning failure. The wrong forecast led to the wrong inventory. The wrong inventory led to the wrong procurement decision. The wrong procurement decision led to a production stoppage. And by the time the shelves were empty, the original planning error was 3 months in the past. This is why we begin with forecasting, with demand planning, with SNOP, with segmentation and bias correction. These are not academia topics. They are the systems that set everything else in motion. Get the intelligence layer wrong, and the most efficient factory in the world cannot save you. So, what does season 1 actually cover? Forecasting: how organizations predict what demand will look like, demand planning, SNOP. Then we go deeper into bias, because most forecasts carry human cognitive errors that nobody talks about. We talk about segmentation, because not all products, customers, and suppliers deserve the same level of attention. Moving average methods, forecasting, error measurement, quantitative versus qualitative approaches. Each of these topics connects to the others. They are not standalone subjects. They are one interconnected system, and season 1 is going to decode that system step by step. The intelligence layer is where we begin, because in supply chain, intelligence always comes before movement. So now remember that this is only the beginning. Over the coming seasons, we will move outward layer by layer into the full operational architecture of modern supply chain. Season 2, the money layer: how supply chain decisions hit the P&L, working capital, cash to cash cycles, cost to serve, the financial language every supply chain professional must speak. Season 3, the movement layer: transportation modes, incoterms, cold chain, customs, and freight. The operational complexity behind every shipment that crosses a border. Then comes the source layer: procurement strategy, supplier risk, network design. Then the operational layer: inventory, MRP, lean principles, packaging, production planning, warehouse operations. And then beyond that, Season 6 and beyond: global operations, geopolitics, technology, industry verticals, leadership, and practitioner skills. Each season builds on the last, and slowly the map becomes complete. And alongside the core curriculum, we will also have bonus episodes. You know, what I find most useful about these episodes is that they show you supply chain under real world pressure, not in theory, not as a framework on a slide, but as a live operational system managing thousands of variables simultaneously in real time. We have got a bonus episode on aviation, AI, and in aviation, we talked about how, you know, fuel logistics work, how the aircraft is maintained, the MRO, the maintenance of supply chains, and flight network optimization. We have spoken about that. And we also discussed about supply chain in football and Formula 1. So that level of operational complexity deserves to be understood properly, and that is what these episodes are built to do. So now I want to speak directly to where you are in your journey, because not everyone coming to SCM Decoded is in the same place. If you're just starting out, a student, someone transitioning into supply chain, or someone who wants to build a proper foundation, start with season 1, watch sequentially, let each episode build on the last. Do not rush to the advanced material. The foundation matters more than anything else. What you need is a laptop, a diary, a pen, and a cozy room. You sit there and you watch episodes, you make your notes, and you build daily. Trust me, it's going to be fun. If you're already working in supply chain, a planner, a procurement professional, a logistics manager, you can navigate selectively. Use this ecosystem as a reference library. It will be deep enough to actually help you out. And if you are in a leadership or strategic role, the episodes that will serve you most are the ones about systems thinking, how trade off cascade, how planning decisions shape business outcomes, how operational choices connect to financial results. All three paths lead to the same destination, direction: a clearer, more connected understanding of the global supply chain. So this is how we are going to proceed, and I want to be honest with you about one thing. This will take some time. SCM Decoded is not a course you complete in a weekend. It is not a certification you rush through. It is a long term learning journey, and that is entirely by design. Supply chain is genuinely complex. Please understand that. It spans industries, geographies, functions, and disciplines. You cannot meaningfully compress that into 50 videos and call it complete. What we are building here is 100 to 150 episodes over months together, which is something that does not currently exist. Okay, a connected, operationally grounded map of how modern supply chains actually work is nowhere on the YouTube. And if you are here from the beginning, you will be part of shaping something that was never quite been built before, episode by episode and season by season. Some things are worth building slowly and building correctly. This is one of them. So, one thing more about how this channel is built: SCM Decoded will never be optimized for the algorithm. The episodes are longer because the topics require it. The narration is slower because operational systems deserve reflection, not speed. The format is deliberate because I believe that genuine understanding cannot be compressed into 60-second clips without losing everything that actually matters. If you are looking for quick dopamine hits and endless overstimulation, there are plenty of channels built for that. This is not one of them. SCM Decoded is built for people who want to actually understand supply chain, not just consume content about it. The format serves the mission, not the other way around. So, this is what we are building together: one connected operational map of how modern supply chains actually work, from the intelligence layer through the money layer, movement, sourcing, operations, and global systems, episode by episode, season by season, operationally grounded, strategically sequenced, built with one purpose: to give every supply chain professional the map they never had when they were starting out. That map does not fully exist yet, but it will soon, and I'm glad you are here to build it with us. So this is SCM Decoded for you. We'll be back soon with next episode. Thank you.